The Afternoons with Joy podcast is presented by United Faith Mortgage. Let their direct lender advantage save you time and money.
Hey, it's Joy. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me on the Afternoons with Joy podcast. I do a radio show on Way FM and simply share life with you. The good, the bad, the comical, and at the end of the podcast today, I'm going to share a moment with a friend that really impacted me, because we often think that we need to have the right answers for people who are hurting, and I think God's just slowly showing me that the opposite is true. In fact, it's probably best if we don't have the answers. So that's at the very end, but we're kicking it off talking about what it looks like to bully yourself and how I need to stop. It's crazy that we will say things to ourselves that we would never say to anybody else. I call it my bully voice, and it was so active this week. I was just exhausted in every aspect of my life. And when I feel that way, I'm more susceptible to believing some of those lies in my mind. But it took me saying one of them out loud to my husband. I said, "I'm so sorry. I just can't get it together this week." And he looked at me like I had two heads. He said, "Nobody said you had to have it together. Stop trying. Just be the way that you are." And I'm so grateful for him. It caused me to get sassy with my bully voice. And I said, "Shut up, bully voice. You're not the boss of me." It's time for a little joyful news. There's so much negative news that we could use a positive story once in a while. So I'm going to bring you one just as a reminder that there are still good people out there. People like these twin sisters, Billy Joe and Bobby Joe. You cannot make names like this up. They have been helping each other since they were just kids, when one of them had leukemia and the other gave bone marrow and saved her twin's life. But now she's helping her sister out once again. Because of battling cancer, Billy was not able to have children, so her sister donated her eggs, and now Billy has a healthy 2-month-old baby girl. This is how siblings should be there for one another. And I just try to get my brothers to text me back. It's just an example that you get to make thousands of choices every single day. So today, let's choose joy. You probably hear people talk about how even after you get married, you're still supposed to date each other. I get now why that's a mantra, because it's hard. You have to be super intentional, especially now that we have a kid. My husband and I have tried several times over the last few months to go on a date, and every time my son has gotten sick. And tonight, we're trying again, but my son woke up kind of sniffling, and I said, "Bud, do not ruin this for mommy and daddy. We have reservations. We have a sitter. Mommy's in a dress. But if he does get too sick tonight, I think mommy's just going to go out by herself because she needs it." When you do a random act of kindness, you know it can just make your day. I've been trying to do them all summer long, and this week I invited you to take flowers to somebody, and so I did that yesterday. I actually pulled up to an assisted living facility with a car full of roses, but when I got inside, I found out I wasn't allowed to pass them out to any of the residents, and so I just had to leave them at the front desk. And I left feeling kind of defeated without that giddy feeling because I didn't get to see my kind act make anybody's day. And that's when this sweet woman named Ruth, who works here at Way FM with us, she reminded me that if your heart is in the right place, that's all that matters when you're doing something kind. You don't always get to see this beautiful viral video kind of tears in somebody else's eyes, but all that matters is that you did it. Taking a quick break from the conversation to tell you about our show sponsors. Not every link you click online has the power to change a child's life. In fact, most of the links that I click are just me looking at pretty dresses that social media advertising is trying to sell me. But if you click on the link in our show notes, you could change a child's life. In fact, you could have a ripple effect on an entire community that's struggling with poverty. Because the link in our show notes is going to tell you about Food for the Hungry. They're an amazing sponsor of the podcast. They're a Christian humanitarian organization that's doing so much good. They're trying to respond to human suffering, and it's the kind of suffering that we don't even know anything about. In fact, Rose is a widow in Rwanda, and she has a child that was able to get a sponsor. That's what you can do for $38 a month. And what they were able to do was help her family not starve to death. Because the husband had died, she was trying to take care of their farm, but she said a lot of the animals had died and there just wasn't enough food to go around. Not only were the kids hungry, but she said even the adults were struggling with not enough food. But that's where Food for the Hungry steps in. They not only educated her and taught her how to take care of their farm with training, but they also provide them with some animals that they can actually get milk from and food from. And now, not only is their child in school, but they're not hungry anymore. That's the power of clicking on the link in our show notes or going to fh.org/joy and saying yes to sponsoring a child today. Kids get excited about anything. My kid is in a rock phase right now, and every time we go on a walk, we have to find a different piece of treasure, which just looks like a rock to me, and we have to bring it home and add it to our collection. He's very proud of his little box of treasure, and he wants to show it off to everybody. We work with United Faith Mortgage, and they can actually help you cash out your own treasure hiding in your home. You've probably noticed that home values have gone up like crazy recently, and they can help you find that equity in your home to use for something you might need to do right now, like send your kid to college or finally do those updates on your house. If you want to know why United Faith Mortgage is so special, it's because they have a direct lender advantage. There's no middleman with them, and that advantage often allows you to get a better rate, which could save you money, lifelong money. If you want to know more, go to UnitedFaithMortgage.com.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
You know you shouldn't quit things, but I want to quit. I signed up for this walking competition here at work just because I like to be a part of fun things. But what I didn't think about is how walking competitions are not fun. I'm a working mom. I barely have time to brush my teeth. I don't know why I thought I could get steps in. So, of course, I'm in dead last place in the entire company. And everybody can see it. Everybody knows. And when I first found out, that motivated me. I started walking a little bit more this week. And then today, I forgot my step tracker altogether. So I'm going to have 0 steps. And I'm just thinking, this is too much of an uphill climb, figuratively and realistically. It's time for a little joyful news. We are bombarded with negative news, so I'm going to bring you a positive story just to remind you that there are still good people out there. Sheldon's 11 years old and just published his first book. It's called Good Morning, but it's actually for kids to understand how to mourn the loss of a parent. Sheldon lost his mom when he was only 5, and thanks to the help of his dad and his grandparents who went to a lot of grief counseling, he quickly started to understand healthy ways to process that grief. And he said, I hope that kids can learn a lot from this because it's hard to cope with grief. And I just want kids to learn it's okay to ask all of the questions. It's a beautiful way to take pain and to help somebody else through it. And always a reminder that we get to make thousands of choices today. So let's choose joy. You've probably experienced some anxiety in the last year because we have been through a lot. But the problem only starts when anxiety is all-consuming. And I have lived that. And so when best-selling author Max Lucado came out with a new book on how to handle anxiety, I had some tough questions for him. I want to know what to do with the Bible verse that says we should be anxious for nothing.
The apostle seems to set an impossibly high standard here.
Yes, and that causes anxiety.
The truth is that verse that means do not allow yourself to be perpetually anxious. In other words, anxiety will knock at the door, but just don't let it come in and sit at the table, and certainly don't let it spend the night. Try to learn ways of dealing with anxiety before anxiety takes over your life.
Max Lucado has so many good tips on how exactly to handle anxiety, and it's at wayfm.com. When somebody is really hurting and we engage with them, it can be awkward because I don't know what to say. I don't have the words of encouragement they need. And so I fumble all over myself. until yesterday. One of my girlfriends, she's been in and out of the hospital with her new baby. And I had a tough time when I had my son. And so my heart it breaks for new moms because I know how lonely it can feel. And so we went out to breakfast and I was feeling that nervousness driving there. Like, what am I possibly going to say to encourage her? And I just realized I don't have to say anything. Before I walked in the doors, I prayed, God, if you've got something for me to say to encourage her, bring it to my mind. But if not, help me to shut up and just listen.